Thank you, Kiran. Mr. Kiran Karnik, Chairman, Professor Pankaj Jalote, faculty, members of the Board and Governing Council, parents of the graduating class, guests, administrators of IIIT, and the most important part of the audience today, the students, some who are here in this hall, and I presume some who are not in the hall today. A graduation day is always a special day for any institution, and more importantly, for those who actually graduate today. This is a transition that we all make in our lives. In some sense, it's a day like any other day. At the same time, it's a day which changes your lives almost completely. And part of it is because of what Kiran just said, that you will go into what is often called the real world from a somewhat protected environment of an educational institution. Driving in here was quite interesting. I actually did not know where the location of the IIIT was. And this is like an island. It's like a green island in the middle of this crowded place. And I was absolutely delighted to have the conversation before walking here. It's not just a green island, it's also an island of excellence that is being built in an area which is of extreme interest today to all of us as people, as society, as a nation, and for the world. You all exposed yourselves extensively to engineering and to technology. And we all live in a world which is dramatically changed the way technology is adopted, become part of our lives, and in some ways almost drives our lives. It's technology that allowed us to live much longer. It increased the population of this planet by giving you better healthcare, better medication, longer lives, ability to exercise with equipment. And now it's a larger population on the planet which now demands more of technology. There is a need for us to both learn to use and harness this technology well. At the same time, a word of caution that it will change our lives absolutely beyond our imagination. I'd actually brought a note with me which talked of technology and stuff, but when I'm sitting here, I'm saying I'm talking to people who actually know much more than I do. So what can I tell you about technology? So I'm going to change a little bit of what I have to say, and Pankaj stole half my speech in all the comments he made. So, so I have to think up some new stuff to say to you. It's not new for us. We're an 8,000-year-old civilization. We'd actually taught the world about technology. We also taught the world about trade and commerce. If you think back, where did drainage, water supply system, water storage system, where did they come from? They actually came from India. The world's first university, the world's first multidisciplinary university, and the world's first liberal art university, all were in India. The world's first university which attracted peoples of different nations to work together was also here in India. And I don't need to go through the list because I'm sure you're all aware, whether it's the zero or the pi or even the button, by the way, these are all invented, designed or discovered in India. And there are a whole host of others. The game of chess, although there's a competition, there are two other nations here that they actually discovered chess before we did, but I guess that's debatable. We've had a great history of discoveries, of intellect, of people questioning status quo. And I think that's a wonderful quality to have. Kiran just talked of the new university that we have just started. Actually, it's only 2 weeks old today. We have said there are 3 things we want to encourage actively. And I would encourage each and every one of you to also think a little bit about this. One is to focus on innovation in all that you do in your lives. Everything. I don't mean only innovation and technology, but in everything that you do in your lives. Second is on impact that you will make on society. And I mean in a positive sense. And the third is a sense of inquiry. Question things. Can you help make things better for yourselves and for those around you? Can things be done quicker, better, cheaper, more efficiently, with less wastage, with more impact, more effectively? Or could we just completely change the rules of the game? And it's happening all the time around us, every single day. So I'll take a page from what Kiran was saying, that the new era of the digital age is actually only 50 years old. But what it's telling us is, the message is quite interesting. You know, there was an old saying that the only constant is change. Really, the only constant in life is change. But now it's not just change, it's also the pace of change that is changing. At a pace never imagined before. Who could have imagined 50 years ago the way we use communication and how it's changed social structure? It's not good or bad. Parents often complain, by the way, about the way kids behave socially now, or they interact with others around them. I don't think it's good or bad. It's just the new reality. And for all of us, and I'm talking the elder lot, who don't accept this, we will get rolled over. Saying life is like a road roller. You're either sitting on the road roller or you get rolled over. And that's what's happening with technology. We need to be able to learn to harness and use technology for ourselves. Otherwise, there is another scenario building. And I would urge some of you to see this video. It's on YouTube. It's a 15-minute video that says, humans need not apply. Anybody in this room seen this video? Just 1, 2. I would urge the rest of you who are qualified technologists to actually look at this video. It's almost saying humans are actually not required any longer to do almost any job, including the most complex or the ones we consider the most intellectual, including jobs of lawyers, accountants, doctors, technologists, can be done by machines. We've made these machines. We've built into them, or attempted to build into them, the most complex machine known to man, which is the human brain. We've been trying, and this is for a long time. This is not today. Einstein was trying to do this, and many others around at that time. Leonardo da Vinci was trying to do this. Is to question our ability. Again, we are from a civilization or a nation where we've had sages, saints, wise people do things which people either called hocus pocus or magic, levitation, telekinesis, etc. are not new. But the reality is, this is not magic. The ability of an individual to harness and project your mind, it's only an electrical, it is an electrical circuit, and that's all it is. But we also know that we're actually using a very small potential of this most times. And as many of you would know, Einstein's brain was actually preserved, and it's available right now, even today. They've tested it, and it was one of the brightest minds the world has ever produced. And how much of that mind do you think was being used by him? It's 10 to 12%. Over time, these numbers have changed because of the way that we calculated it. One time they said most human beings use 1 to 2% of their potential. Now they're saying we use somewhere between 5 to 10%. But just imagine, if you could even just double what you do, in terms of the capacity of the brain, it still only be 10 to 20%. So we have an immense capacity and capability, very often not understood by us ourselves. The story of the bumblebee is well known. There is no way theory can show you that it can fly, but it does. It doesn't know it's not supposed to fly. We used to have this discussion in our company some years ago. We actually tried to keep our heads down and focus on our work. Only the businesses which have a compliance reason or a consumer at the end are the ones which get publicized, but most others we don't like to even talk about, much less publicize. But some of them have grown to become leading businesses in their own areas. Some of them are globally leading businesses. We had at one time, I think, 6 or 7 companies in the group which were amongst the number 1, 2 or 3 in the world. This is before we restructured the group. And we had a visitor one day. He's saying, how has this happened? How is Hero Cycles the largest company in the world? How has what was then Hero Honda become the largest company in the world? When you're addressing a market like India only and not addressing the world markets or a few other markets around you. And the reality was, frankly, we don't know. We were fortunate in the early days that the culture that got built in the organization said the most important asset that we have as an organization is people. It's the only asset which is appreciating. Every other asset is depreciating with time, whether it's buildings, machines, technologies. We build some of the best buildings actually. We have the world's largest green roof on one of our factories. Many of our factories don't look like factories. When you drive in, they look like your campus actually. They are green. We built a new factory which we opened last month in Neemrana. We turned the trusses upside down and used the trusses as a frame for solar panels. And under the solar panels, because there's still room, through hydroponics, we are growing food. We are growing plants and food which will be used in the cafeterias and the canteens inside. So let me just switch to another area. In 2004-05, some of us authored a report which said India can grow at a very rapid pace, and it should. But our biggest problem, our bottleneck, is going to be people. We almost got laughed at. We said, please read the entire line. It says, we will fall short of people with the right skills and the right attitude. Because we have not focused enough on people. We have not focused enough on education, vocations, and skills. And which is a shame, because we are, as I said, a nation which has taught the world how to do this. So over the last 250 years or so, we allowed ourselves to slip. At the end of the Mughal period, when the British came into India, India as a single nation was doing 21% world trade. One nation. Great Britain, as it was then called, had 1% world trade. In 1947, Great Britain left India with 21% world trade. What do you think was left behind? 1%. So it was actually an economic subjugation which happened. And we allowed this to happen. And then, strangely, we adopted the same system where the government, a small minority government, was trying to run a large nation which was primarily against them. So our rules, laws, regulations are based on mistrust, that the average citizen will do the wrong thing. And that change, I think, is long overdue to be made. We have to trust Indians to do the right thing. And by the way, they will. If you look at what Indians have done worldwide, and now I'm talking of the recent past, in the last 50 years, what Indians have done across the globe, in the US, in Europe, even in Far East, in the Middle East, doctors, lawyers, accountants, technologists, scientists, pretty much any profession that you look at. There was a time when 3 major global banks had Indian CEOs. There was a time when 3 major telecom companies had Indian CEOs. 3 of the major airlines had Indian CEOs at one time. If we can do this when we go out, if you go to California, for example, a very large number of the startups that were being referred to earlier by both Pankaj and Kiran are actually Indians. So what happens to us here? Why are we not able to do this? I'm absolutely delighted to hear what you're doing here at the IIIT. I think that's the kind of change which you will make. Each one of you needs to be a seed which will make this change in yourselves and around you. Of course, it's important what profession you pick, because unless you pick something, your ability to drive your passion is limited. And as you just heard, your profession may change over time. It doesn't matter what it is. Please do it with a sense of joy, a sense of commitment. As they say, if you enjoy what you do, you don't have to work a day in your life. It's just a joy. Every day when you when you get up, you want to do more of it. And that's what's a joy in life. Sometimes people talk about others, this guy doesn't sleep, he's working too hard, he's working too long. Please ask them, does it seem like a punishment for those who are working 10, 14, 16, 18 hours a day? If it was, they wouldn't do it. It's obviously something they enjoy. And that's what moves the needle. That's what makes the big difference. I like that your leadership team is talking of startups, incubation. We would be delighted that all of you walk out of here with jobs. I would be even more delighted if a large number of you said, I don't want a job. I want to be able to give jobs, to create more jobs. As a nation, you need to create 1 million jobs month on month, every month for the next 10 years. Our biggest challenge, and we have to recognize that all of us in this room are completely blessed to be born in the families that we were born in, to get the kind of education and opportunities that we got. Because we come from a nation where 250 million people are not able to get 2 square meals a day. So there is a responsibility all of us have to make that change, which is the reason I'm urging you to think not just about jobs. Of course, it's good to get jobs. By the way, please don't misunderstand. I'm not running them down, because we need smart young professionals to drive Indian enterprise. But if you can be the one who creates jobs, you are the multiplier. We often talk of industries which create a large number of jobs, whether it's textiles, automotive, defense, tourism. There's a whole lot of industries, house construction, which create a massive amount of jobs. But who's the real multiplier? It is individuals who have the ability, the grit, the guts, the ability to take the risk and go out and set up these enterprises, push them to grow in spite of challenges that we will all face. So we are a nation of extreme diversity. We are also a nation of extreme dichotomies. If you look at the World Bank's report of ease of doing business, we are shamefully low. Yet, people want to come back to India, and this is a question I asked some of your faculty, because a large number of them have come back from overseas, because this is where the opportunity is. And the change in the environment, in the work culture, has actually to be made by us. We cannot be pointing fingers at the government in today's time. Who is the government? Who picks the government? Who makes the government do what it should? It's all of us. It is our responsibility as responsible citizens of the world. We also need to recognize our responsibility is not just in your immediate neighborhood or in your society or in your nation. The way the world is getting connected, increasingly, it is a responsibility for all of us to be responsible citizens of the world as well. So I would urge all of you, no matter what you pick, please ensure that you do your work with a sense of responsibility and with a sense of ethics. There is a huge moral dilemma right now that ethics has almost become unfashionable. And that, I think, is a big, big problem. Whether it is corporate scandals or scandals in government or scandals amongst individuals, I think it's a shame that as a society, one, again, which talked of the value system, the Guru Shishya tradition came from India. And what was the reason? What was what was the system, was not just to teach you about technology or soft skills or a language. It was to teach you life skills as well. And again, I was glad to hear from your director that you are focused on multiple life skills, sports and other activities as well. Because we would like our young people to come out as complete and balanced individuals. You are our future. I hope, by the way, some of you think about the future seriously, because you're going to spend most of your time there. So it is important, I think, for us now and then to think a little bit about this, but it's more important to not have to think about it all the time, to make this second nature, to make this your normal behavior, to question decision making. Am I doing the right thing? One of the things we did many years ago in our companies is, when any new manager is hired, any new individual is hired, as a part of the orientation, they are told these are the company's philosophies, value system, etc. You will have to make decisions all the time. And that's what life is about. You make decisions every single day. When you have to make a decision, we expect you to do two things. One is to remember that something which has to be done must be done, and something which does not need to be done must not be done. Don't waste time, energy, resources, money, etc. At the same time, when you have to make a decision, you don't need to ask anybody. You are free to make decisions, but make sure you're doing the legal thing. More important, make sure you're doing the right thing. Make sure what you're doing is ethical. Put your hand on your heart. And if you think it's the right decision, please go ahead and make it. And if it falls flat, if it goes wrong, we will support you. As an organization, because what is the organization? It's nothing but the people. As I said, it's not the fancy buildings or the fancy technology that gets used in these buildings. It is always and only the people. The performance or the result that Kiran referred to is not any one individual's. It is the net collective result of all of the people. And we have been very fortunate and blessed to get very good people within the organization and in the universe of the organization, as suppliers, as dealers, as distributors, as customers. We truly feel we are blessed. So this is a business which was started from scratch by my father and his brothers. So in some sense, it's only one generation old. And we have thousands of people who are now working second or even third generation within the company, amongst our suppliers and amongst our dealers and distributors. It is their company. It is everybody's company who's involved with this. We don't think it's our property. We have a role to play. We have a role as trustees to ensure that you are protecting the reputation by doing the right thing, by making decisions which are forward-looking, which ensure the best interest of the entire community that it touches. So through our family foundation and some of the trusts, we have been focused on, and you're right, Kiran, we have been focused on education because our belief is that this is a responsibility. If some of us don't meet, is actually absolutely almost unfair. So we've been focused on school education, on college education, on vocational skills, on clean drinking water, and things of that nature. Our special focus has been skills and training for women, because we think that is what can be truly transformational for society. I was actually glad to see so many young women in the room. I remember when my daughter went to SRCC, they were then in those days building the hostel for girls. Yesterday at the board meeting, we were told there's a new hostel which needs to be built for the girls, because right now there are 60% students getting into SRCC are female students. Because they are smarter. Actually, that is a smarter half of our population. They are so smart that they can let the men feel that they are smarter most of the time. And I mean it seriously, by the way. Because they live much more complex, difficult lives than men. We have not harnessed that energy for many parts of the nation. And I'm not discounting what they do, by the way. Running homes, running families, bringing up children is absolutely the most important part that any society can do. But in addition to economic activity, to industrial activity, to scientific technological activities, they have a temper which allows them to do multiple things with great concentration, which men cannot. And I don't mean to generalize, because each one of us is individual. But broadly, if you see, and there are many research reports to show, by the way, that this is actually true. So I'm delighted when I see in more and more universities and colleges, more young women, more young ladies, in any case they get better scores in schools. One thing I've not figured out is how can you get 94, 95, 97% in marks in any exam, but millions of our children are getting it. So clearly, the intelligence lies in there. Can you help to create a facilitating environment where all of you who have the opportunities and those who don't have the opportunities, all of them get and have the ability to be able to grow, to flower, to demonstrate their ability to make that big change. Make it for yourselves and make it for many around you. You are in probably one of the most leading edge areas of education. I would urge you to focus your energies on a few areas. Pankaj, how much time do I have? Some of our big issues, big problems, are also fantastic opportunities areas. Food, energy, water. These are inextricably linked. And I'm sometimes amazed we've not even made the linkage of this, certainly not yet in India. Not only have we not made the linkage yet, we've not even focused on energy, as a single overview of energy is not available in India because of the way our governance is structured. We have an oil ministry, we have a power ministry, we have a coal ministry, we have a ministry for alternate energy, and a whole host of others. So there is no single, and because these are fiefdoms, these work in silos, they're not able to work across. So that's one other recommendation, suggestion I have both for the institution and for all of you, that it is multiple disciplines which will drive success. Very rarely is it single discipline which drives success. It may or may not be visible, but it is individuals who have the ability to think on their feet through different areas at the same time, which can actually drive more sustainable success. So I would urge you to focus your mind, your research, your thinking, your technology to areas like health. Healthcare is a serious issue today. How do we make education easier, cheaper, more available, higher quality of education, easier access to education? How do we focus on urbanization? Today we have 68 to 72% of India living in the rural areas. Within the next 15 years, this number is likely to come down to somewhere close to 50%. And by the way, we are talking of this percentage of 1.2 plus billion people. The population which is going to migrate is more than the population of the entire United States and Canada put together alone. It's almost the population of Europe. Please remember, this has never ever been done in the world before. Are we equipped for this is a question we need to ask ourselves. How do we create urbanization which meets the needs of the society of today as also of the society that we will see in the future? Can we create more economic activity in the rural areas to actually obviate some of this migration? Our agriculture is also in a very strange place right now, which needs massive attention. We are the second largest producers of vegetables in the world, second largest producers of fruits in the world, the largest producer of milk in the world, also of maize and sugar, sugarcane, cabbage, and a whole host of others. Our yield, interestingly, is the lowest in the world of any country with a large agri-production. Literally, it's the lowest in the world. Can we focus some management input, some technological input into our farming? We can dramatically change the lives of India, and I mean India, not just the farmers, if we can do that. And I can almost guarantee you 2x can be done in 3 to 5 years. 5x can be done in 10 to 15 years. If we focus our mind, some on rules, regulations, and some on technology and management practices. And that is what I'm talking about. Can we be transformative? Can we think big? Can we look at step changes? Of course, incremental changes are important. That's what you need for everyday lives. But to make the big change, how many of you are willing to put your neck out, to stick your neck out and say, I'm going to do this, which is risky, but I think I can make a big change here. I want to thank all of the parents and guardians who are sitting in the other room. I presume some of you are here, for making that effort and very often making sacrifices to put your children and your wards through this fantastic opportunity to expose them to the ability to learn. Just one last comment, and this is for the institution. I don't think the best institutions are those which teach you or give you the answers. I think the best institutions are those which will equip you with the tools to raise questions and ask the right questions to find the answers yourselves. There is no ready answer in life for anything. No one can give it to you. There is no professor, no matter how smart he or she is, that will be able to provide you all the answers of things you will face in life. You have to find the answers yourselves. As long as you're able to approach this in a balanced frame of mind, with a good sense of inquiry, you will find the answers. So to the parents, a very, very big thank you and congratulations to all of those who are graduating today, and congratulations to the award winners, and good luck to the institutions. All the very best.